Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. So today I was planning to do a propagation of my Monstera. I'll put up the name on the screen. You can see it's doing quite well. Now guys, again the same issue with this plant. During the time of renovation and painting, this plant was completely gone. There was nothing left of this plant. You can see this is how I had put this across on this rope, and I wasn't expecting much because the entire plant was completely gone. There were no leaves at all, and it was only a bare stem. You can see how long that stem is from here, and I had rolled it around the pole stick and I had put it up over here. And after I think probably 3 months, 4 months, it started to put out leaves, and now you can see it's doing extremely well. So basically there is a long gap in between because the leaves did not come over there. It was just a barren stem, but luckily it started to put out growth, and you can see this is the new leaf that is coming up. Again, this plant also tends to get fenestrations. I'll first put up the image of how this plant looked when I had initially bought. It was very tiny, very small, and as you can see over here, after this the painting had started and the plant was completely damaged, and now it started to do quite well. So the upper portion is also doing quite well. Fenestrations are going to take a long time because the plant is still, starting to get a little healthy. And over here, which I had also put the stem, this also started to put out new growth. So as you can see, this is the node area, so I'll have to cut it beneath that, just like how we tend to propagate our philodendrons. It's the same process, and it already has a good amount of leaves on this, 3 leaves actually, so we can do a cutting. You can see it looks absolutely beautiful. A little bit of dirt on the leaves, but overall it looks good. So I think I will select this portion in order to cut, and after I'm done with cutting, this place can again give me more shoots. So let's give it a quick cut. So we will cut it right over here, ensuring that we have the aerial root with us, because that's more important. And there we go. So the good part is that there are 2 aerial roots. I thought there is only one, and there are small little ones coming in the side. You can see that. So this is how we tend to propagate. Now of course I will put it into the soil. Also it has a good set of leaves, so this is going to be a very successful propagation. So let me quickly get the soil, and I'm going to show you how I will be planting it. Now of course I won't be watering it right away because we have just cut it. We can put some cinnamon powder on the cut part in order for it to dry, and then we can put it into the soil. So I'll show you the entire process. So guys, we have a pot ready. You can again see the paint splatter. This was from the painting that was done, renovation that was done. You can see how bad it was. They had spilled paint everywhere. Anyways, this is the pot. I've used a green shade cloth, and the soil mix that I'm using over here is a very loose, porous, well-draining soil mix. The same soil mix that I use for all of my plants. It's basically a mix of coco peat, garden soil, sand and perlite. You can see, because these prefer to have a very well-draining soil mix, which is very loose, very porous. You can see how fluffy the soil is. So this is the soil that I'm going to be using for the Monstera cutting. So let's fill the soil mix halfway through. I always prefer to use a smaller pot so that the plant can get adjusted in the new pot. A larger pot, that is the issue, that the plant puts more focus on putting out new roots because the pot is very large, so it has to kind of focus more on putting larger roots, and it doesn't grow, or it doesn't put out more focus on the new leaves. So when you have a smaller pot, the plant can more focus on its new leaves. Especially when we are doing a cutting, we want new growth faster. Even though there are aerial roots, they are very healthy and they're enough to sustain this plant. Now as I said, we have just done the cutting over here. You can see this is the cut part. What I also prefer to do, again this is optional, it's not that you have to do it, it's optional, but I prefer to do this at times if the cinnamon powder is available with me. So this is a little bit of cinnamon powder. We will take the cut and we will just put it into the cinnamon powder. Now there are a lot of benefits of cinnamon powder. One, that it is antifungal. It has antifungal properties. It is a natural rooting hormone. Apart from that, it keeps pests away from the pot, especially ants, fungus, anything. So you can even put it into the soil if you want extra. And then we have coated the cut with the cinnamon powder. just going to take it and we are going to push the roots into the soil like this. Once the roots are inside the soil, we will cover it up completely with our potting mix. There we go. The same process, we will try to push the soil in so that we can put in more soil, because as and when we are going to water, because the soil is very fluffy, as and when we water, the soil tends to reduce. We always need to keep at least 1 inch, I wouldn't say 1 inch, probably half inch of the edge of the pot, because then whenever we are watering, the soil does not spill out. So what I usually tend to do is I leave, you can see this, a little bit space. Right now I'm going to fill it completely with soil, because as and when we are going to water, the soil is going to settle down. So that's why I usually fill the soil up till the brim. But when we start doing the watering, when the watering starts, there will be some air pockets inside the soil, and as and when we start watering, those air pockets will be released and the soil starts to kind of settle down and leaving a good amount of edge for us. So whenever we water, the soil does not spill out. If you're going to fill it completely with soil, then whenever you are watering, it's all going to spill out. So there we go, we are done with our potting. Now it's all about waiting. We'll have to wait. I don't know how long will it take for this plant to start putting out new growth, but whenever that happens, I will keep you guys updated about it. It's going to be a very long process. Anyways, as I said, it's the monsoon season. This is the right time to do a lot of propagations because the environment is very humid. There is a lot of moisture. Tends to work out really well for our foliage plants especially. So you can see the leaves are looking fantastic. This one was the new leaf. It's still very soft. These are the older leaves. They are a little bit more thick. But the newer leaves will always be lighter in color and they are going to be slightly soft. A lot of people tend to ask me why the leaves are coming out soft, or they are not very dark green in color. The main reason is that whenever a new leaf tends to come out, it's always going to be soft. You can see it's very soft, very delicate, very soft, and does not have that very dark green in color as the older leaves. But as and when this leaf will mature, it will also turn a little bit more thick and it's going to have more darker color. Now again, about the fenestrations, I'm waiting for it from a very long time. Let's see if the plant would have done quite well during the painting session, or let's say if the painting session or the renovation was not there, probably by now my plant would have got the fenestrations. But unfortunately, because of all the hassle and chaos, the plant had a very hard time. But now that it's recovering, I'll put up the image of how the fenestration on this particular Monstera tends to look like. It looks very different from our other Monsteras, but looks absolutely beautiful, as you can see in the image. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video on propagation was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep planting.